Good evening. Please stand for the pledge.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Board meeting of the Town of Carmel, dated September 25th, 2024. First up on our agenda is Americo Sereno, 205 East Lake Boulevard, special site plan.
Good evening. My name is Giannico. I am the engineer preparing these drawings for Americo Sereno, who's the applicant. Is it on? Any better? Oh, there we go. So my name is Giannico. I am the engineer who has prepared these plans for Americo Sereno, who's the property owner and applicant for this proposed boathouse.
Thank you. All right, Mike, you did have a memo on this, didn't you?
I did. They're trying to add a boathouse to the property on East Lake Boulevard in Mahopac. Variances are required from the ZBA for lot area, side yard for the boathouse, and parking spaces. In their letter, they replied that one pre-existing parking spot is provided, and they have the land across the street. That's great, but they have to go to the zoning board and make that argument there. It's not for us, and ECB approval is required for the project.
So 4 parking spaces are required by code?
That's correct, and they have one on site. They have plenty across the street at the house, but that's a reason to give a variance, not a reason that you don't need a variance.
Okay. All right, thank you. And Rich, you had a memo as well.
Applicant has addressed most of my comments. They have noted that they need to go to the Environmental Conservation Board, Putnam County Highway, and to get a Carmel floodplain. They do have, if I'm not mistaken, approval from the New York City DEP for their stormwater pollution prevention plan, because they are in a designated Main Street area, so they do have that approval.
And Pat, you had no comments on this.
So all I wanted to repeat was what Rich just brought up. So when they were last before you and made their presentation, you told them go to DEP and sort that out. They have their permits from DEP, so that's what they've been doing since you've last seen them.
And Rich, your comments, for the most part, have been addressed, you said?
Yes, sir, they have.
All right.
They have to get a wetland. Mike just asked if they got a wetland permit. They still have to go to these. Did you get a wetland permit?
We went to the ECB board last week.
Right, so they're in process with ECB.
Okay. All right, I'll open this up to the board for any questions or comments.
No, looks good.
Anybody?
No, I don't have any comments.
I do have a question. The additional parking spaces will be achieved with the residents across the street?
Yes, Americo Sereno
Is it
across the
directly across the street?
Directly across the street. Yes.
The code actually says that you're allowed to have them on an adjacent lot with a variance from the ZBA, but there has to be a perpetual agreement between the two parties. I don't know if they would want to do that, put an easement on a property to allow that, but that's one of the reasons they grant the variances.
Okay, yeah, because my concern was if it was 2, 3, 4 houses down, and we all know how 6N is, wouldn't want to create a dangerous situation. So with that, there are some variances that are required by the ZBA. So if the board sees fit, I'll need a motion to deny this to the ZBA.
I'll make a motion to deny to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I'll stamp that.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Sorry, so could you repeat what you just said for me, please?
We're going to deny your application to the ZBA, so
Oh, okay.
concurrently while you're working with the ECB,
Okay.
you can go to the ZBA and see if you can get your variance.
Okay, so we'll be recommended to see them.
Right.
Okay, understood.
All right.
Thank you.
I have to stamp that drawing. Yes.
Need a stamp?
Got to stamp it.
I have to stamp that as denied.
And that's the map you'll have to make the copies of. That's the map, the one with the stamp on it, is the one that you'll have to copy for the zoning board.
Thank you. Okay, next up on the agenda is 910 South Lake Boulevard LLC. This is on for an amended site plan.
Good evening, everyone. Long time no see. Michael Mastrojacco, engineer for the project. Just a quick recap. So the property, when we started this, was...
Actually, if I could, sure. Let's stay with the introduction. Let's go to the consultants' comments, and then
Okay,
we'll
sure.
turn it over to you, and you can go.
Sure.
All right, Mike, you did have a memo on this, is correct?
I did. It's basically the same as last time. There are several variances required from the zoning board of appeals, a use variance because they don't meet the threshold for a hotel. Where are we? Lot area, lot width, front yard, side yard, loading space, parking, and building height. Actually, the building height we discussed, and that one comes off, so that isn't the last one. Have you been to the fire department to discuss the Siamese connections, the turning radii and all that? That's just one of the comments. I think it's been sent there, but I'm not sure. And this should go to the ECB as well as we get closer to approval.
Okay. Yeah, we believe that the fire department did okay the Siamese connection and everything. We'll find the letter, we'll get it over to you.
So my comments are virtually the same as last time. I'm still reviewing some of the documents that are in here. So I think what the applicant here is just here to just remind the board what they are, what they're doing, and hopefully get designed to the ZBA. There are still comments and questions that still need to be looked at here, but nothing that can stop them from going from the ZBA right now.
Okay, thank you, Rich. I mean, I did see you had a lot of comments regarding the not permitted use of town water.
Correct, and so a lot of that's under review yet, but again, you know, it might all be moot if they don't get their variances from the zoning board, right? So,
Okay.
So if they do get their variances, where does the water issue get dealt with?
that's a discussion we're gonna have to have moving forward, so.
And what I can clarify with respect to that is they've documented the ability to provide that service, whether improvements are necessary, and the details of how that's to be done is what Rich is talking about right now. So if you refer to the Zoning Board of Appeals, there's a viable project there. There are issues associated with the viable project that need to be ironed out. So ordinarily, if we didn't know that this could be serviced, we wouldn't suggest that it's appropriate to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. In this case, we know there are ways to service this project. The method of doing it is yet to be worked out. So I would agree with everybody else that this can go to the zoning board. The project has evolved fairly substantially since it first came before you. As you know, this has got a long history now before you. And at each step, the project's gotten a little bit better and a little bit better. The idea of a boutique hotel in this location is a good benefit for the town, by and large. It's just got to work. So we're getting down to brass tacks and the details, but they don't have anything if they don't have the variances from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So I think now they're at the point where it's appropriate to get over to the ZBA and find out those answers.
Thank you, Pat. All right, we'll turn it over to you.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. As we said, we started off as a multifamily, and now we're at a boutique hotel. We've gone through some iterations. We've worked with town staff. I believe, as Pat said, we've gotten it down to basically the fine details now of all that's needed. As staff said, you know, we do need ZBA variances, if we could be referred to that. We also need resolution for SECRA, so then we could continue with the DEC to get our SWIP approved, because that's the last part of the missing piece of the puzzle, you could say.
And you have to do seeker before they can go for use variance also.
Right. So that's what we're here for tonight, hopefully to get SECRA and hopefully to get referred to zoning.
All right, if you would you take the board, just review the plans, please, again, for us.
Okay, so what we're proposing is a 24-room boutique hotel. What we've done, one of the changes we've done, is we've moved the building over to the east and a little bit to the north, and what we did is we followed the line of the building next door. So that way then we're not any closer, even though we do need a variance, we're not any closer to that. By doing this, it created a better flow of traffic, especially for garbage trucks, for fire trucks, to get in and out, having one curb cut instead of what we had before was a two curb cut scenario, one way, and it was getting a little tight. This also helped us relay out the parking area to get enough parking spaces for the actual hotel.
Could you just identify the curb cut again, please?
So by the curb cut, originally what we had a one-way in to the parking lot, and then we had a one-way out, and the building was shifted in between everything. The width on both sides was kind of tight. It was 14 feet. By the time you came up, especially with the 9% slope, 9.25% slope, to turn with any fire truck or garbage truck, got a little hairy here and then coming out. So by now shifting it over and having a one-way, this opened up this curve to be a little bit more easier. That way you had a better transition as you come in with the garbage trucks or the fire trucks to get in and out. And then our Siamese connection will be up in the front, so it's easier for the fire trucks just to pull up and be able to service the building.
What's the width of that?
The width of this is 20 feet.
20 feet.
Yeah.
So you mentioned adjustments to the parking lot. Did you gain spaces because of the move of the building?
Because of the move of the building, we were able to give enough spaces to meet the 24-room
Okay.
that we were proposing.
And we're at 3 stories, correct?
We're at 3 stories. So what we did is, it's a total of 3 stories. And we're still working on the facade. But what we did is we came up 2 stories. We have the retaining wall, we came up 2 stories, and we have an outdoor terrace here that has a bar area, fire pit. You can go out, enjoy the view of the lake, because this is facing the lake. And that piece back there is stepped back. So if you go to the side view, you'll see. And this is actually the driveway side. So you see how we came back and stepped up to follow grade.
And you-
Originally, at one iteration, we did have rooms here, and then in speaking with staff, we removed these 6 rooms.
And you will have a full sprinkler system in the building, correct?
Correct, correct. We also created a secondary egress here right onto the driveway to get out. So we have multiple areas for egress for fire escape.
Has the fire department seen that traffic pattern?
Yes, this is the same design that's been, we've just been tweaking little things here and there, but this is the same design that they've seen.
At what point would we get the approval from the fire department that they're okay with it?
We haven't seen anything with respect to that, Mr. Chairman, and before you move forward with seeker on this, we have to sort out, that this is a state road, DOT will be involved in it. There are circulation and traffic issues that require a little bit of assessment. So one thing you've done in the past is had your traffic consultant take a look at this, so we may want to do that, just to make sure this is being done properly.
And there's no access to the property from 6N, correct?
No, there's such a drop-off back there, it would be hard to get any kind
And
of
it's
access
almost on a bend.
What was the question?
to get to Route 6 to the other side.
It's only from 6N.
The
Yeah,
only
it's
access is
6N.
on 6N, not 6,
Not 6.
Mr. Chairman.
This is 6 and there's the driveway.
Route 6.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's only 6 and,
It's very steep coming up here.
Right.
There's no way to get a driveway up here.
right, that's 6.
Yeah.
Where's the current curb cut?
Same location where we kept the same curb cut. So we haven't changed the location of the curb cut with this design.
There's a garage on that property right now. Could you point to that location, just for reference?
So there's a garage here. Here's the house, here's the garage and workshop, and here's the driveway currently as it is now.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're holding the same curb cut, and we've gotten rid of all that other stuff.
But just to be clear, the access will be from 6N and only from 6N, correct?
Correct, correct.
And speaking of that south side of the property near Route 6 there, is there going to be a retaining wall or something there? Because that does drop off going down towards Route 6.
We've kept the grading very minimal back here, so it's just a little bit of, I would say not even excavation, it's just moving some dirt left to right to create a level area in order to put the asphalt down.
What about
But
the
we're not
trees
doing-
back there?
The trees are coming out, we have a full landscaping plan with screening and everything all around. All our lighting, we have the light analysis to show that everything just stays on the property, nothing spills over.
How far back from Route 6 would that landscaping be?
We have it just behind the curb, between the curb and the line. This landscaping is probably a good 10, 12 feet away from Route 6.
Where's the DOT right, you don't have to do it right now, the DOT right away on that side also. Just gotta make sure you're not planting within the right of way or whatever, just.
Right,
I'm
no,
sure
we're-
you looked at it,
yeah.
but we're talking about it now, just make sure
Sure.
that that's clarified.
Yes.
The other thing you mentioned, the lighting, the spill plan, it does show, illuminations over, the board, over the property line there, so is there anything you could do to address that? More downward facing lights or anything to that effect to make that go more to zero at the
Okay.
edges?
Sure. We'll change the actual fixture. That way, then it'll change the illumination.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Yes, I do. And I think we've talked about it before. Where are you in the architectural development of this in terms of the facade and how it looks from 6N?
So in the package, we have all the floor plans, we have the facades. We are maybe a couple of weeks away of just tweaking some of the siding and changing, because there's a little bit too much stonework right now. It's a little too busy in the front. So what we're doing is we're lowering this to create a little bit more siding. And here, we're gonna probably do like a mansard roof to make it look a little softer, so it doesn't look like a 3-story structure.
So has this gone to our architectural consultant yet?
No, it has not, Bob.
Yeah. So my comment is, at least the way it looks now, we always say on this board, we want a wow factor. And I see no wow in the design, I'm sorry to say. It's going to set the tone for development in our entire downtown Mahopac commercial area. This is a fairly significant development. I would, want it to go to the architectural consultant, but also I would really like to see something that has more flair and care in the design. Right now, it's just, to me, it's just a box. And I see no gables, I see no, none of the architectural elements that at least I would want to look for in tying it together with the historic nature of our community.
Right. I remember at one point during the whole design, we had a more modern look, and the board actually requested a more New England style. So this is leaning more towards that mansard type look. We're having some gable ends on the ends here. That's what we're tweaking and cleaning up to give it more of that wow factor. But with a New England style, there's only kind of so much you could do.
And that's why I kind of would want it to go to the architectural consultant.
Yeah, that's all you think you could do. Let's have our guy make sure that's the case.
Listen, sure, why not?
I personally don't like the look. I was led to go this way. My first look was really wow with the modernness of it, but they wanted to bring it back to the old historic, so we did that. But, I mean, whatever the board wants.
Yeah, and I think to build on what Pat said, I think we really need to have our traffic engineer look at it. I mean, you indicated a moment ago the driveway is approximately 20 feet. So that gives 10 feet for, each opposing lane. I mean, that's a parking spot. 10 feet's not really a lot.
Right.
And then the issue of when you get up in the back and then the ability to turning radius and so on. I mean, I really think we need to have.
Yeah, Ray, and I would reiterate, the reason this is particularly important is because it's a hotel. If folks live there and they drove in and out every day, they get accustomed to something that might not be perfectly, adequate. But these are guests coming, they don't know the site, So it really has to be intuitively functional. So yeah, it's something we have to look at carefully.
This fits our zoning for there, correct?
Does not, so they need a use variance for this.
They need a use
So that's
variance for
why, just procedurally, we have to do seeker first before we send it to the zoning board, because the use variance is an unlisted action. So you need to be comfortable with the traffic issues, which is water issues. The aesthetic issues are part of your seeker determination. So all of that needs to be resolved before we can make that referral to the ZBA, because you need to have your neg deck first. And again, I'll give the applicant credit. They've come a very long way with respect to this. I don't think there's going to be a no at the end of this. There's details that have to be worked out, and you need to know them before you make that referral.
I mean, I do like the terrace. I think that's a great idea. I like the fact that you're trying to keep the roof line low, which is what was a concern of ours. So I appreciate that. But with that terrace and, you know, cocktails and a fire pit, which I think is a great idea, are we gonna have an issue with residents in that area, even if we get the waiver from the ZBA? So it's just something that I wanna make sure that it's not gonna become an issue or a headache, you know, enforcing the code, Mike.
Well, the parapet wall is got, you know, it's about 2 feet high, and then you have a 3-foot railing, so you have 5 feet, so up here. So as far as nuances and all that, I think it'll be very minimal. Plus, it's more on the lake side than the rear side, so it's more focused to, especially summertime, being outside. There's a lot of people using the lake, so it's more recreational for that. So I don't think it'll be more of a nuisance because we kept it at the front. Had we had the whole entire roof, yeah, I could see people in the back, you know, complaining, but I think keeping it up front kind of minimizes any impact on anybody.
Did you give, or maybe you have, but I'll offer the suggestion, you may want to consider some type of safety glass.
Well, yeah, we can
My
add some
thought is
safety
people
glass.
up there drinking, people are gonna start, you know, you never know what happens. You see a lot of locations, the Spire in the city, it got built, everybody, and then people are jumping off of it.
Right.
So my thought is just from there, so you may want to think about some type of glass on top of that.
Well, we originally wanted to do a glass railing system that was even higher, but it doesn't really go with that architecture of the building. So,
I mean, I don't want to draw any attention to the glass.
Yeah.
You can still do whatever parapet,
You know.
but we may want to consider having it there.
but like I said, we would rather have the glass look and the safetiness of having it higher, you know, if it's okay.
Okay. So I think there's a little bit more work that has to be done here. I mean, guys, we appreciate, you know, bringing it to this point. Let's take it to the next step. We got to get secret, right? We have to
The architect,
get the architectural review input.
We'll engage our architectural consultant and our traffic consultant.
Yes. Very good.
So there is a fee for that, as you can well imagine, for at least the architectural. I don't know about the traffic consultant. Speak to Rose, we'll get that going, and then we'll put you in contact with them.
Okay.
And the letter from the fire department, if you could
Yeah, we spoke about
drag that up.
Yeah. We'll get that. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll see
You
you
have anything else?
next
If not,
meeting.
We'll see you next, yeah, if you get that all stuff, we'll see you on the next agenda.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay. Next up on the agenda is Partenza Miller, 257 and 267 Daisy Lane, lot line adjustment.
Good evening. Stephen Partenza. I'm representing my son Cole Partenza, the owner of property, and his neighbor John Miller.
Good evening.
We had hired Dave Odell. I'm
Let
sorry.
me- Let's go to the consultants, they have some memos, and then we'll give you a chance
Okay,
to
okay,
speak.
sorry.
okay? No, thank you. Mike, you want to go over your memo, please?
Sure. So applicant proposes to transfer 4,958 square feet from Miller to Partenza. This is a lot line adjustment. There are variances required from the zoning code. For the Partenza lot, they need a lot area and a lot width, and for the Miller, they need a lot area variance.
Okay. Thank you. Rich, you had a memo as well.
So no real comments on the lot line adjustment outside that Mike has covered them. The applicant does need to note that per 15661M, copies of any restrictions or easements on the land or a copy of the deed needs to be provided as part of the submittal. Location, composition, and approximate size of all monuments should be on the drawing, and the label of the old and new property lines should be identified as such on the drawing.
Okay, thank you. And Pat?
So with this, Mr. Chairman, the question really is why? So ordinarily with a lot line adjustment, there's somebody's doing something, the reason it's being done. If you go past the site, it appears as though that little piece has always been used by the adjacent property. Looks like an informal driveway that's there, so maybe it's just formalizing something that's been sort of informally used over the years, so the applicant can explain that to you. The issue that makes this a little complicated is both of these lots are significantly undersized, especially the one that's gaining some property. It's about a half acre in size. But the lot that's giving up land is also undersized. So as Mike indicated earlier, these are variances. Ordinarily, we're more comfortable with lot line adjustments when you have complying lots. These are both non-complying lots, so it's clearly going to be an issue for the zoning board, but I don't know that there's any quote-unquote planning issues associated with this. It really is the transfer of land and an issue of zoning, in a situation of zoning issues. But again, if you could explain the reason why, I think that would help us understand what we're talking about today.
So they'll both be in the ballpark of 2 acres, so a little shy of 2 acres.
The smaller lot will be slightly over a half acre, and the big lot will be 1.9 acres.
Oh, okay.
Again, this is a 3 acre zone, so that just gives you context.
Okay, thank you. Why don't you take us?
Okay, so am I to understand that the square footage requirements haven't been met for this? Because according to Mr. Odell, all the requirements were met and were satisfactory.
Mike can speak to this. A pre-existing non-conforming condition was either exists by virtue of a variance or some other legal mechanism that documents that. If that's not documented, our building inspector has required you to get the variance for every non-conforming condition that exists, so that it's very clear for the 100 years into the future that that legal nonconformity is legal. So that's why we send you to clean up every variance that you need. But in this case, there's also a created variance by virtue of the swap of land.
So the piece of property that we've requested is basically, we're asking to move the lot line over just to add some space to add to so it's not non-conforming and aesthetically, really, because that piece of property, from Mr. Miller's point of view, is, non-essential to him. It not only adds to the non-conforming lot, but it adds aesthetically to the face of our house. So we just thought it would be a nice acquisition to get it. It doesn't affect anything. We're not building anything. It doesn't affect the septic or well. That's all been in place. We've renovated the house. We built the house, and we filed. Everything has been within the confines of the building department. So it's just an aesthetic point of view.
So ordinarily, our concern about line adjustments, or what are you getting by doing that? Ordinarily, somebody's doing that so they can expand a building or create another lot.
Right.
You just heard the answer.
We're not doing it.
And if you look at the property, there's like a stone wall that exists on the adjacent property that looks like the property boundary, but it's not. So this would move the property to the stone wall that has some logic to it.
Would you trace that out for the board, please? on the
Sure.
map?
Do you have you want a highlighter? Or?
You could just, it's up to the board. You could just point it out for us, please.
So this is the current property.
Have to take the
Take
microphone.
the mic with you.
All in favor? I get a vote now? So this is our property line here, and this is Mr. Miller's. This is the lot line, so we're asking to move it from here to here, that's it. It's nothing that can be built on, like I said, it's just aesthetic, so when you look at the building.
So that, let's call it a triangle.
Yes,
So
it's a
gonna
little
be-
pie shape.
Is going to be transferred over to Potenza.
Yes, correct.
So both lots are non-conforming, and by doing this, the more non-conforming lot is becoming closer to conformity, but they're both still non-conforming. It's not a bad change, they're both already non-conforming, but it's not making either lot conforming.
Okay. So, I mean, that doesn't change anything for us. I mean, it's going to remain non-conforming, we know that. It's going to remain non-conforming. We're not going to put an additional building here. I'll tell you the God's honest truth. Our septic is here, well is here. God forbid something happens and you need access to the rear. This opens it up to get, like, say, a mini excavator in there to do the work on the septic. Or if there's a lot of large trees back there, just really access to the rear area, which was very confined. Originally, the original owner had a little garage here with 2 garage doors, and I guess they would pull small equipment in. But if you had an emergency or something, you need access to the rear of the house, and this would enhance that. That's all.
And nobody's saying you can't do it. What they're saying is you need to make a trip to the zoning board for the nonconformities. That's all that it is.
Okay.
Yeah, we're starting non-conforming, and we're still going to remain non-conforming.
Correct.
Questions?
Looks straightforward.
Yeah.
All right, with that,
No wow factor on this, sorry.
all right, then, do I get a
Clarify that even though it's a simple lot line adjustment with no issues, the subdivision process has to be followed for this, so we have to do a negative declaration. So if you could designate your intent to be lead agency tonight, we can at least start that process.
Okay, then I'll need a motion to declare us lead agency.
I'll make a motion to declare the planning board the lead agent.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Then I'll need a motion to deny this to the ZBA.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion to deny this to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can you explain the next process that I would have to go through?
For
Is it the variance?
Yeah, you're going to need to now get a map stamped, denied.
stamp it.
They're going to stamp it here. Then you're going to come see me, and we're going to fill out 2 applications for variances, initial them, and then you're going to go on the next available agenda for the zoning board meeting,
Okay.
probably October.
And
Okay.
then once you get those variances, you're back here to finish the process.
And you write on there, variances granted on this date, and it'll be on your map. And then it's
Okay.
clear, everybody knows what you did.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So you need to see these?
Yes.
Yeah, if you bring that up, please, I'll stamp it.
Get a souvenir.
They're both the same, right? Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Wow.
Yeah. Put some gables back there, be really well. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
You're welcome. Thank you. Good night.
Okay, I don't believe we have any minutes with distributed, so I'll need a motion to close.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.